Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go.
Hi, everyone. Today's Wednesday, July the 23rd, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and we have a little bit of news today, but not much. Coming up at 10, existing home sales. Notice, didn't we have some kind of PPI or something? Oh, PMI is tomorrow. Sorry. Just got my days all wonky. Okay, so what are we staring down? So far, we are moving with the same rate of expectation of implied volatility. Opening range this morning in the ES, pretty much right where yesterday's opening range was, just a little bit wider. And we are holding the floor of it. That, in general, is bullish, especially since we broke out and retested it to hold. That gives us 6,349.50 as an ideal buy zone today if we come back into the area. So we want to be careful there because as a whole, we are still sitting very sideways. Okay, so what is the opening range today? High, 6,350.25. Low, 6,342.75. We are still in a buy the dip formation. Notice our dips have come to the base of this formation. Now, let's say that you are looking at this chart on big time frames and you say, I'm looking for my trade today. What's it going to look like? Well, a couple of things. Notice we've got a flattening of the volatility in terms of the stochastic, right? It's a flattening event. And in prior times, what we had is this flattening event that comes over. Notice if you're thinking about this one, when you do it and you go, ooh, I'm going to take the short here, notice it's almost immediately invalidated. That's what you're going to watch for. So immediate invalidation up at the top here, that means if we get above 63.75, it automatically begins a buy zone. There's 4 points into the IV for Wednesday, that's 63.79, 6,379, and then 6,391 if the shorts are caught flat-footed. So this is clearly a buy stop at 63.75. All right? It is what it is. Okay, now, that being said, let's say it is a topping formation. Where are you going to go? If you take the short, it's going to rotate very likely down into the point of control. That's 6,335. Take a look at how many days we actually have come in and kissed that zone, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 5 days. I think that's a pretty solid indication that it's going to be, same, unless it doesn't and you know the buy. So here's the thing. If you go, well, I'm going to be away from my desk, what do I do? You can engage in the short, immediately put a buy stop on here if it breaks, and then take it into the first target. Now, I don't know where that first target's going to be. It could be 30 points. It could be 5 points. I don't know. Right? Because the topping formations are telling me structurally I've got an issue. So you might draw Fibonacci or whatever. For me, I've got to eyeball this simply because, I don't know, I just got to eyeball it. Oh, don't you love it when I'm explicit? I just think it's important to look at. All right, today, as we move to the NQ, what are we staring down? Opening range, high, 23,205, low 23,170. What have we done? We've held the low. Now, the administration did strike a deal with Japan, and that's got everyone pretty happy for the moment, okay? And so this bullish action that we've seen in the overnight, one, it puts traders with long inventory. Please remember that between 9:12 Eastern Time and 9:25 Eastern Time, we have these influxes of liquidity, sometimes direction to the downside, sometimes direction to the upside, but no, there's usually some sort of reflexive move there. You want to watch for what that is, make sure that your size is contained. And that's true for all of the major indices. Each index, though it's doing its own thing, is going to see that sort of reflexivity. Side note, listen, if you're going to use a fancy word like vertices, remember that words with an X that have a multiple are called indices or vertices, but the singular is vertex or index. All of you guys know what I'm talking about there. That drives me crazy, but I am a little bit of an English Nazi. I'm not going to lie. So there we go. Sorry, that's it. That off the soapbox, kicked it out of the room. Won't be there anymore. Okay. So what are we seeing? We break out, we retest. We came into the IV for Monday. We've got a lot of range expansion back into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Who knows if we will hold that? Here is the large framework that we drew our wave action on for this big savage dip on July the 16th that was immediately bought up. I think this was the Powell replacement event. So let's move forward. Dips or buy zones. We're coming to the top of the range. This is much more trending from a give back than the others. Now, what I noticed is that we are seeing some of the leaders and the high flyers giving back a little bit of their gains. And so we'll watch to see if the leaders are actually leading, telling us we've got a rotation to the south. Point of control, 23,213. Volume weighted average price for the range that we are considering here is 23,180. Those make pretty good buy zones if you're looking for buy the dip, because we are sitting in a very sideways formation. Okay, this is a coin toss in my mind. Could you buy here right at this spot? Yes. What's the risk? The risk is always going to be the size of the box where they have been accumulating inventory, and that is 70 points away. All right? No, not going to do it. Let's go to the YM. So this was very interesting to me. As you know, I am of the mindset that the YM should be the instrument that shows us a bit of a breakdown first. That being said, if we take a look at what's happened here, we are outside of the value area, right? Last time we were out of the value area, we went into this 44,865 and then into 45,000. And so are we really sitting here? Look at this. This looks like a very hideous inverted head and shoulders pattern, but it does look like basing. This sort of thing, we could say, okay, this is one bar, this is another bar, and then this is the bar, easily 3-bar reversal to the upside in the formation, taking us into 45,110. Look at how long we've been holding up in this range. To me, any kind of blow-off move to the upside, it could be a quick strike long up above 44,971, which will then bring us back into the congestion zone. But entirely likely to have a breakout, because I got to tell you, the shorts keep piling in and they keep getting smashed. Opening range formation for the YM, very tight. Holy smokes. The same as yesterday. Actually, not yesterday, day before yesterday. Just a very tight compression, but all the indices are holding the low of the opening range. That is very bullish. That's very, very bullish. Support action, value area high for the YM, 44,744. If we lose that area, we're going to have a magnet into the point of control and the volume weighted average price, which is 44,530. makes for a pretty nice trade in general. Okay, micro Bitcoin, obviously caught in the range, but I got to tell you, there are so many stories out there going, no, this is it. This is where Bitcoin goes to 150,000. My point is this. Listen, it could be the case that this is going to the moon, but if you're trading it for trade, don't get crazy, okay? Just go from support to resistance, resistance to support. Treat the market responsibly, and you're going to get responsible returns, okay? So, from a momentum perspective, we have 120,600 as resistance, right? We have a very wide opening range from July 17th. Price action still caught inside of that zone in the early part of the day, but now breaking down into, what is that, Monday's range. We tested the end of Monday's range. I think we chop around in between here. Opening range today, high 120,305, low 119,580. If we chop in between the ranges, it tells us that buying pressure should sit somewhere around 118,300 to 117,765. The floor of this current gigantic sideways pressure event is 116,678. That looks like a very nice buy zone with about 500 points of risk. Looks fantastic to me, if you ask me, especially for micro Bitcoin. Very nice trading vehicle. Is this chart likely to collapse and fall off a cliff? No, because of two reasons. One, it's becoming one of those spaces where everybody goes, all right, I give up. I guess I'm supposed to be involved. That's number one. And two, the proliferation of Bitcoin ETFs is just shooting the moon. So we're going to have a floor on the overall pricing until we get some sort of liquidation event, forced liquidation, and that's going to push everybody to the sidelines. All right, upper edge, 121,134. That's Friday's implied volatility. They've done a lot better pricing volatility in here than in weeks past. They've been really making a mess of things, but still, Friday's area is the best bet if you're trying to sell premium in this formation. Let's take a look at oil. Good golly, I am talking way too much today. Oil, whoa. So oil's breaking down pretty hard. Why? I don't know. But let's go to a 4-hour chart. Oh, first, let's talk about the opening range. We broke the high of the opening range and went into the low of the prior day's opening range, at which point we rejected, right? So that's time framing lower. Last time I looked at things, right? Open, collapses. Open, collapses. Open, retest, and a collapse. Do these eventually fill in? Yeah, but eventually is when? I don't know. But let's stare down a 4-hour. This is important. Look at the value area formations. Dip buying certainly seems to be on the forefront of the ladies and gentlemen trading this instrument. $64.50. Am I going to look for a long there? You betcha. You betcha. I think it's going to be a little bit hard, but it is definitely going to be doable. And so I'm going to put myself in a wait state for this vol test, and then I'm going to jump in. Notice how long it takes sitting sideways. So I'm going to trade support to resistance, and I'm going to get out. And then I'm going to trade support to resistance, and then I'm going to get out. I am not going to trade support to resistance to support to resistance. One, I don't have time for that. And two, things could break in a savage minute in any direction here. Okay, so that's what we're staring down. Value area low on the 4-hour chart is 64.90. We are breaking that, but we can see the wicks go all the way to 64.50. Point of control, 65.30, 65.35, and that's for the 4-hour formation. Point of control for the 1-hour formation, which covers less of a region, is 66.66. Interesting. VWAP, $66.20. Opening range high, 65.60. Opening range low, 65.44. Again, we broke above it, broke below it, retested the failure of it, and it's off to the races. Now, for the last 3 hours, they've been collecting inventory. Above 64.97, you could chase it if you like. But it's going to go into resistance. More sellers are going to come back in. It's going to shove you right back down. I would be careful here. I really, really would. Let's go to gold. Yeah, gold is, I mean, wow. I don't know what to say here. Combination of a lot of buyers and a lot of shorts having to cover is the general thought about what's going on here. We are 30 points above Friday's implied vol move. So I'm going to guess that these guys sitting here that sold the Friday calls have probably rolled it into next Friday. See what happens there. But, whoa, yeah, this is rough. So what are we staring down? We're building another volume shelf here. Opening range formation tight. We've broken both sides of it, right? But notice the time framing up, right? Opening range, opening range, opening range. I mean, they are buying the dip. They're definitely buying the dip. And so this one, if we don't buy the dip here, right? Meaning if we can't break above $3,450 and then we fade, we're going to retest this opening range formation here below. All right, so today's opening range high, 3,445.2, low, 3,441.3. Mosh pit right here. You can buy the low and sell the high until it stops working. Could you take a short at 3,429? Sure. And it would go into the top of the last opening range yesterday, 3,415. You know, shorting oil at this juncture seems a little bit like a fool's errand, if you ask me. All right. We are still in a very potential topping formation. No doubt about it. We've got to take a breath. The question is, at what point? Because this is driving a physical move of the instrument. Physical gold is continuing to be bought up. All right, let's jump to SPY. And I'm very sorry for taking so long today. I got off of my rant of how to have singles and plurals. Singular and plurals, I'm sorry. Okay, so here we are, topping formation. What did we open at? Well, that's a pretty wide opening range for SPY, 4 hour. Look at that. Not so much time framing up as many of the others. We clearly are range bound. We're trying to break out of the range. So above $631.77, that's going to be a flat out buy into the next area of resistance. I don't know if it's going to be a blow off top. I don't know if it's going to be continuation. You got to watch that. Watch for the punch up, the pullback, and the hold of the high of the opening range. If not, it goes to the low of the opening range. So what numbers are those? High, 631.49 cents. Low, 630.60. Low edge, so far finding buyers. High edge, so far finding sellers. Once the break occurs, we either expand into the next area of known resistance in terms of a volatility expansion, or we pull back into the top of the value area, which is all the way down at 627, 628. All right? I have no clue which way this is going to go, except that deep pullbacks, they are going to get bought. All right, everybody, that's it for me. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the streams. Don't forget, Midday Money Ball coming up for Benzinga Pro members.